Hello guys, this is JoAnn speaking here, and welcome to Paleo Reviews. I am finally talking about Dinosauria Volume 2 once again. I've talked about Terrible Lizards and Hunted by Moonlight, so it's only fair if I talk about the third short film called Monsters Down Under. There will be some spoilers if you want to check it out yourself, so you have been warned. Monsters Down Under is the third animated short film of Dinosauria Volume 2, released on the 28th of March 2026. As of recording this, the short film is the longest thus far in the series as it goes on for 16 minutes and 20 seconds. Taking place in the early Cretaceous, this short film focuses on Australia where winter has arrived for these animals, and soon enough, we get our main focus on a marine reptile, Kronosaurus. We then see a male Kronosaurus make several attempts to impress a female, and things get violent along the way. I will admit, this film gave me goosebumps, but in a good way. The first volume of Dinosauria focuses on these prehistoric animals going through trials and living their lives, while Volume 2 doesn't just do that, but with every film thus far, each have their own unique style and experiences. Terrible Lizards celebrates 200 years of paleontology, while they visually show how dinosaurs have changed over the years. Hunted by Moonlight tells a spooky cautionary tale, and with Monsters Down Under, this one tells a very documentary-like story, but with some unique twists to it. I like to think that Monsters Down Under celebrates documentaries in some way, shape, or form, but it knows when to get creative in order to make it feel fresh. To start things off with what I really like about this short film, I want to start off with the style of it. I know I was just talking about it, but the choice to go for a documentary-like style is a really nice touch. Not only that, but I also like how it chose to mostly focus on life in the ocean, since the short film gives the spotlight to a marine reptile that's very underrated. I couldn't help but to occasionally imagine a narrator in the background talking about what's going on. However, there are no words needed, obviously. As always, these short films look beautiful, but I want to point out the attention to detail for this film. These details in this film are very eye-catching. In fact, there's some I want to point out. When the camera showed the bird's eye view of the ice sheets, it really felt like I was looking at real ice sheets because of the transparency to where you could see what's underwater. Another detail I want to point out that I thought that was actually pretty crazy but cool at the same time would be the stomach stones falling out of the dead Eromygalosaurus when the Kronosaur was biting it open. If you're familiar with rocks being eaten by those elasmosaurs, then you'll know that these guys do it for digestion aid. Of course, there's also other purposes, including weight balance and minerals. Another detail that sticked out for me, sound effect wise, this film has a specific sound cue that plays during moments where the male Kronosaurus is in need of oxygen. Also, there is one detail I want to point out, and I'm not sure if there's other people pointing that out or not. I like the part where you could see the snow covering the tail of this Kunbarosaurus. It was sleeping in a cave while its tail was sticking out after all, and I thought that detail was pretty funny. It is safe to say that the attention to details were one of the best highlights of this film. And third, the music. Ivan Dutch once again nailed the music, and much like in the other two previous films, the music in Monsters Down Under has a lot of personality. It sounded really calm, but at the same time, it gives off this unnerving vibe too. It is enough to give you the heebie-jeebies at certain points. Considering this film went with a feeling of something not of this world, this music really blends in with that vibe while it gives off the sense of awe-inspiring nature. Last but not least, I want to talk about Kronosaurus. I've seen this animal a couple of times in other media, including its brief appearance in Sea Monsters: A Prehistoric Adventure from 2007, but I find this poor animal to be underrated as heck, and I'm glad that it got a big focus in this short film. One big detail I noticed with these two individuals are the black and white colors. It gave me flashbacks of the Leopleurodon from Walking with Dinosaurs. However, when I was watching the making of video, I found out it was more than just a callback. According to David, these contrasting colors are common in paleo art, and the colors you see on marine animals like Leopleurodon and other present-day ocean animals like sharks and whales, they are the most realistic, which is a really interesting fun fact there. I also really enjoyed the courtship sequence between the male and the female, but good grief, I was feeling bad for this male when I was watching him getting attacked and cut up. Although, to be fair, what was shown was based off of some behaviors of animals that are alive today after all. It's a test of strength and endurance, and looking for signs of weaknesses too. Nature is brutal and terrifying whether it be on land or in the sea. I will say, this male Kronosaurus deserves a round of applause for not giving up. The only nitpick I want to point out is that the short film did the whole fake out trope where a character or an animal appeared to have died, but then out of nowhere they just suddenly wake up like nothing has happened. Now, in the making of video, it was mentioned that the male Kronosaurus just passed out, but then it had a second wind to rise to the surface. While I do get this explanation, I am concerned about the overuse of this trope. Plus, I truly thought that this guy was dead at first when that scene happened. I let that go in the first short film, Terrible Lizards, but then when something like that happened again here in Monsters Down Under, I was just all like, oh boy, here we go again. Regardless of this nitpick, I still really enjoyed how this short film came out. Now, on to favorite scenes. I really enjoyed seeing the snowy environment, especially when this film took place in Australia, out of all places. When I think of Australia, I usually don't picture snow, but when you consider how times were different back then, it is very intriguing. I laughed my tail off at the part where this baby Muttaburrasaurus woke up this Kumborosaur, and this Ankylosaur had this really annoyed look on his face. He was just all like, dude, I'm sleeping over here. That's the face you make when you're having a good dream, but then your alarm wakes you up. This can also apply to when you're watching a movie in a theater, but then a baby starts crying in the background. Lastly, I like the appearance of Incontoothus. At first you see the close-up of the eyeball, then the camera shows the full look of this guy. Much like the rest of this film, that scene was very documentary-like. In conclusion, Monsters Down Under is beautifully made. If you have a soft spot for prehistoric life in the ocean, this may be right up your alley. As of recording this, there are 2 more short films coming up for this series, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens next. This short film has eye-catching visuals and details, bone-chilling music, unique choices of species, and an easy-to-follow story reminiscent to a documentary. Monsters Down Under shall be given 9.8 out of 10 sickle claws. Oh, and fun fact, when I was revisiting this short, I discovered something when I was reading the comments below, and it made me feel so bad for David. Shortly after Monsters Down Under was uploaded, there was a new study that came out that made Muttaburrasaurus in this short film outdated. If what they're saying is completely valid about the new face of Muttaburrasaurus, then it was fun to see the old look while it lasted. Despite all that, I really enjoyed Monsters Down Under. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later in another video. Why is there a tornado siren going in the background? What the crap? Oh great, phone's ringing. What timing? Hey! Kelly! Kelly! What? Calm down! Kelly! Oh. Kelly! Shh! Well, what great timing, because I was just about to record something.